week's episode of Triumphant Discussions with Justin Trumpet. My guest is a Boston native, Full Sail University's Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting alumni, and NESN Sports, Tyler Boronski.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, Tyler
you
Boronski.
got it, man.
So how you doing today, Tyler?
I'm doing well, Justin. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Welcome anytime. So Tyler, kind of talk to me about your upbringing, like your childhood.
My childhood, well, I grew up in Connecticut. I feel like I had a pretty good childhood growing up. I don't know, a lot of friends, and we played basketball a lot. That's what me and my friends used to do all the time. Video games, all that type of stuff. Got into this type of work on my own in about ninth grade. Uh, I grew up near a minor league baseball ballpark, and I just
Okay.
did an interview one day with a player, and I was like, man, this is so cool. Like I used to watch ESPN and MLB Network, all that. I'm like, man, this is really fun to have this one-on-one time with a player. So let me just keep doing that. And that's what I kind of did throughout my years in high school in my free time. But yeah, man, childhood was good growing up. Connecticut's a interesting spot. It's like a hybrid. I could either go to Boston sometimes. I was really close to New York City. So sometimes me and my friends go to New York City, take the train. So that's kind of what it was like, man. I like my childhood growing up.
So did you always envision yourself as a sportscaster?
I mean, in like 11th grade, I would say I started thinking about it seriously and realizing, okay, maybe I could do this for a career, because I was doing it for a couple of years, but really it was just like a hobby. It was just for fun. But once you start thinking about, okay, you have to start applying to colleges and stuff and kind of thinking about what you want to do. I'm not saying you should necessarily know what you want to do in 11th grade, but I was like, man, if you can do this for a career, like I want to find the best sports media program or college program that offers that. And I've known about Full Sail for a while just as a school. They didn't have that sportscasting program yet. I
Right.
did the behind the scenes tour for actually sports marketing, but I ran into Gary Jones on my visit there, and he was telling me they're going to start some sort of sportscasting program probably by the time I would get started there after I finished high school. So it kind of worked out, and took a chance on going to that school and really to join that program.
Okay. So could you talk to me about your time at Full Sail University's Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting? Like, what was your biggest takeaway from the program?
Yeah, man. Well, the biggest thing I liked about the school is just how much reps they give you, repetitions. I think that's the most important thing when you're first starting off, is to get what that feeling is like to be on camera, to maybe write your own scripts, to work behind the scenes. And that's what the school's so focused about. It's so cool. You're not thinking about history or, I don't know, English, type science for the most part, stuff like that. It's really, each class relates to the sports media industry. So you're really indulged into that world and really just get to focus on your craft for the 20 months you're there, or 29 months if you're an online student. So I think that's really just such a unique thing, that your life and is surrounded by getting better in the sports media industry in all aspects. And that's what the school offers. And I just love my time there so much.
Okay. Sounds good. So were you always fascinated with just interviewing a person?
Yeah, interviewing is probably my favorite aspect of this industry. I mean, that's how I got started with it, and really didn't do anything before until I got to Full Sail. And Full Sail is what really got me into at least trying other things, like being behind the desk in the studio,
Mm-hmm.
doing stand-ups out in the field, even doing play-by-play for Rollins College. I never thought I would do something like that before. And even though I probably won't be a play-by-play guy in the
Right.
future, it was such a
Right.
great experience. And it's just good to get, like I said, any reps you can, even if, I don't know, like I said, I probably won't be a play-by-play guy, but so I definitely credit Full Sail a lot for just opening up different avenues for me to try. And I even, like, for Full Sail, I really wasn't a behind-the-scenes person at all prior to coming to Full Sail. I didn't know how to edit at all before going to Full Sail, and I think that's one skill set that I feel like I got a lot better at. And right now at NESN, where I'm at, I kind of do a little bit of both, the on-camera stuff, but also behind-the-scenes stuff. And 2 years ago, I really I couldn't imagine doing behind-the-scenes stuff for a TV network. So I think that's one thing I definitely credit Full Sail a lot.
Okay. So what would be like some great ways for a person to improve their interviewing skills while we're talking about interviewing? I'm just curious because I'm always trying to
Yeah,
look for
yeah.
ways to enhance myself.
Yeah, definitely. I think one kind of like fundamental rule, I guess, that I learned in his name's Mike Tuck. You'll have him later on, and once you have his interview in class. But is having all your questions start with the 6 W's in a way. Actually, one starts with H, but he says 6 W's. But it's like what, why, how, which is there's the H. What, when, stuff like that. I can't remember all 6 right now, but just framing your questions around one of those type of words, because those are asking open-ended questions at the end of the day, and that's what you'll probably generate the best answers out of your guests. If you ask closed-ended questions, a yes or no, I mean, if I'm a good interviewee, maybe I'll help you out and still give you a good answer. But really, if you ask me a yes or no question, then I could just give you a yes or no. But when you ask what and hows and whys, that really opens up the potential for what their answer can be.
Okay. All right. So what was your reaction when all of the industry tycoons visited you guys on campus in person?
Oh, that was really surreal, man, to like have them come on campus, because you just see them growing up, when you got Jay Harris coming down and Kevin Nagandi. Bill Simmons was a popular one, I think, amongst all the students there when he came. He was definitely a big one. Sage Steele was great, and I've actually developed a bit of a relationship with her post Dan Patrick School, but she's obviously been in industry forever. So it's honestly pretty surreal to see them all come to campus and really just like spend one-on-one time with you. Like even I remember when Jay Harris, the first time I met him, it was actually through Skype though, but he graded one of our assignments. Like Jay Harris, behind the desk at Sports Center. I just thought that was pretty crazy, man. So that's definitely special. That is something I really don't think you'll see at a lot of other colleges. And even when the pandemic happened for you guys during quarantine, when Gus was setting up all those Zoom sessions, yeah, it sucks that it couldn't be in person, but the amount of different people he got, I mean, that's seriously insane. Like you would not see that anywhere else, I guarantee you. So that's something really special about this program, and definitely the highlight amongst myself, and I'm sure if you ask any other student as well, is meeting those type of industry professionals.
All righty. So how important is it networking with other people in this field that we're both, well, obviously that I'm trying to get into in that trend?
Yeah, man, I think it's super important. And, even if it's not necessarily just for you to get a job, it's just good to know people in this industry, because it's such a small knit community. And I was saying this in another interview recently, when I started interviewing at other companies and stuff, I would always be able to just throw maybe someone that I knew that worked at that company and just be like, oh, does this person here? Maybe I could just stop by and say hi to them real quick. And that kind of just showed these companies like, oh, he's kind of like in the end, like he knows people, maybe I didn't necessarily take a job there, but like, it's good to just have those connections in this industry, because you never know who knows who you can run into and who can help you out later down the line. So it's a small net community, and I think it's important to just keep networking, especially at this time.
Okay. What challenges did you face throughout your time in college, like curriculum work wise? Like, was there ever like a class where you kind of struggled in, or where you was like, oh man, I got to put more attention to detail in this, or get in more reps to like improve?
Yeah, I mean, well, doing the studio stuff was just like always new. Just like it's totally a different thing I've never done before, and that can be a lot of work, because you are the one, not obviously being on camera, but you're the one producing the shows and editing, and grabbing your clips, talking to the director, how you want your show to look. So I think that's a different challenge. And as you get later down in the program, like they amp up how long the shows are, and it was still the same amount of time, so you got to work quicker. So I guess that was a big one. I remember doing packages is something. I kind of struggled in the beginning. I remember like my first package, Eric Saperstein like did not like it at all. Like I remember him telling me he did not like it. But that's something I got better, I think, when I had to do it again, like towards the end of the program. So yeah, I think those two things, I guess, were challenges. But like I was saying earlier, like the whole thing was just new to me. It's new to everyone too. But yeah, you're kind of just learning as you go and on the fly. So it's trying to keep keep up the pace and you know, stay the course.
Okay. Would you mind sharing a piece of advice a person told you that sticks with you till this day?
A piece of advice?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I'll say something like my dad actually told me that maybe not necessarily, you know, you're not talking about Dan Patrick. Wait, do you want a Dan Patrick instructor? Sorry, we get near the
Yeah.
end. You
Yeah.
want a Dan
Someone
Patrick
else.
instructor?
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a second. That was a good question on the spot. I mean, I just know like Rishi, the conversations I've had with Rishi, like we've talked about how, you know, it's good to put myself in the best position, obviously, to get opportunities, to get job interviews and stuff. But we talked throughout the job process, I remember early, that you realize there's other factors besides yourself. You know, it's for when you're looking for that first job. So, you know, it's maybe timing for the companies. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's the end of the year. They're just not hiring companies. It has nothing to do with you. It's just companies aren't hiring at this time. Maybe companies are only looking for a specific fit. And actually, that's something I talked with Gus too, because I learned to touch my resume to certain jobs I was applying for. So if I was applying for a production type job, I would maybe have a production specific resume to send to those companies rather than have so much on camera stuff. Not saying it was bad to have on camera stuff, but just to tailor it a little more to the specific jobs I was applying. So that's kind of something I learned from Gus and Rishi in the beginning of my process during the job search.
Okay. Let's see. What would be the best way for a person, for like anyone coming up that's interested in getting in this field, to position themselves the best way possible to potentially land like their first gig or their first job? What would be like some things that you would recommend that person to work on? Like if that person want to be an on-air talent, like what would be some things you would tell that person to work on?
Yeah, I mean, as you probably know, like I do the YouTube stuff. I've been doing YouTube stuff, and that's helped me kind of just like produce content online. So it's like I already kind of have a name in a sense online. So if companies looking me up, which all of them did, and like NESN, they were familiar about my YouTube channel. But they literally brought it up in the job interview, so they were familiar. So I think that if you want to be an on camera, especially, like that's a great way to put yourself out there. And so if people Google you, you got stuff, and it's like, oh, he's kind of legit, or he's kind of been doing this stuff. Not necessarily mean it needs to translate to followers or anything like that, but just to have
Right.
content out there. It's like, wow, he's puts the initiative in himself to actually take the time to create this content, and hopefully you do a good job and they like it. So I think that's one thing that can help stand out. I think creating a website, a portfolio website, is a big thing that really stands out. Even now, like I've been getting like a lot of college students reach out since like I graduated and working at NESN now. And I love when like students if they send me a portfolio website, I'm like, dang, that's pretty impressive that they took the time to create it. It is a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but I really think it's a standout thing that when companies also look you up too, it's like, oh, he's got a website, and that's something you can give them almost like a one-stop shop. And I think just like applying all that stuff is a thing that'll help you stand out.
Okay. So we'll just wrap things up with the last question here, because I know you're a busy man, like I told you earlier. So if you could give an aspiring sports broadcaster like myself any advice, what would that be?
Right now, I would just say keep an open mind and just like be like a sponge, like soak in all the information that you're hearing from your instructors, because you're surrounded by such great people and people that have been doing this for so long. It is putting away any like ego aside. If you know you think your stuff's great and stuff, but they maybe have some feedback, like just seriously, just take the feedback and just grow and learn from that. So it's being a sponge this early on and just being open to learning, and especially when you got people like that around you. So that's what I would suggest.